My whole life, I felt like I was born into the wrong family. Not in the dramatic way you see in movies where people find out they were secretly adopted or switched at birth, but in the quiet, suffocating way where you realize the people who are supposed to lift you up only see you as a tool. From the time I was a kid, my parents made it very clear that my role in the house wasn't to be their daughter, but to be their helper. I wasn't allowed to have the same childhood my cousins or classmates had. If there were chores to do, they were mine. If there was cooking or cleaning or taking care of errands, that fell on me. It didn't matter if I had homework or if I was tired from practice or if I wanted to hang out with friends. I was the one who had to scrub, vacuum, mop, do laundry, cook, and sometimes even serve them at the table while they sat around. When I tried to speak up as a teenager, my mom would laugh and say it builds character. My dad would tell me not to be dramatic. If I compared my life to other kids, I'd get a lecture about how grateful I should be that I had a roof over my head and food to eat. And I believed them for years. I thought maybe I was selfish for wanting more. I started lying to friends about why I couldn't hang out because I knew they wouldn't understand that my parents literally wouldn't let me leave until the floors were spotless. I didn't have birthday parties or sleepovers at our house because my parents always expected me to play host, clean up afterward, and be the one who made everything look perfect. By the time I hit college, I was burnt out. I managed to get a small scholarship and worked part-time to cover the rest. Even then, when I came home for breaks, my parents didn't care that I was juggling classes and jobs. They still piled everything on me. They never asked about my classes or my career dreams. They only wanted to know if I had cleaned the bathroom or folded their laundry. I remember once telling my mom I landed an internship at a big company, and she barely looked up from the TV. She just said, "Good, now you'll know how hard work really feels," like I hadn't been working hard my entire life. The thing that kept me going was this stubborn fire in me. I decided if no one else was going to believe in me, I had to believe in myself. I poured everything I had into my degree, and then into my career. I worked late, I networked, I pushed through rejections, and eventually I landed a position at a firm where I finally felt seen. I didn't tell my parents much about it, because I knew they wouldn't care. But inside, I was building something that was mine. A few months ago, something huge happened. I negotiated and closed a contract worth $3 million. For the firm, it was a big win. For me, it was validation that all the years of being dismissed and overlooked hadn't killed my ability to fight for myself. The CEO of our company called me into his office, shook my hand, and told me he was proud of me.
Proud.
I don't think I had ever heard that word directed at me in my entire life. It hit me so hard, I almost cried in his office. He said it in front of other executives too, and for once I wasn't the invisible kid scrubbing dishes in the background. I was the person people respected. Of course, when I went home to visit my parents that weekend, I tried to share the news. I told them I had closed this huge contract, hoping maybe a small part of them would be proud too. My dad barely nodded and asked me to take the trash out. My mom said something about how I shouldn't let it go to my head. And then, without missing a beat, they handed me a list of chores they expected me to do before I left. It was like nothing I did outside their house mattered. To them, I was still just the maid. I drove back to my apartment that night feeling crushed. But then I thought about the look on my CEO's face, the respect in the voices of my coworkers, and I realized that pride doesn't have to come from the people who raised you. Sometimes it comes from yourself, and sometimes it comes from people who actually see your worth. It hurts, I won't lie. A big part of me still wishes my parents would care. But I've started to accept that I can't change who they are. I can only keep building the life I want and surround myself with people who treat me as a human being, not as a tool. What I've learned is that family isn't always blood. Family can be the mentor who believes in you, the friend who checks in on you, the boss who recognizes your hard work. Family can even be just yourself, refusing to give up when the people around you try to keep you small. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive my parents for how they treated me, but I do know I won't let their narrow view of me define my future anymore. Some nights I still catch myself spiraling, wondering what it would feel like if my parents hugged me and said they were proud. But then I remember that moment in the office, the handshake, the praise, and the knowledge that I achieved something real. That's mine. They can't take that from me. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.